thank y'all for having me today. Thank you for bringing your coalition meeting to Big Spring. It's really great to have y'all. I was really honored to be a part and get to present a little bit this morning about some things that are going on here in Howard County. I think this coalition is really important. Envy of the state. That's what I was saying earlier. I mean, this is a coalition that's known statewide, and what y'all are doing matters, and it makes a difference. And so thank you for that. So there is 25 TxDOT districts, and so y'all are now in the Abilene district. So we go to Howard County. We're that's the farthest county in the Abilene district. We also go as far east as to Callahan County on I-20. So we go quite a bit further east. So for the purpose of this meeting, I'm going to try to stick to kind of some stuff in Howard County that we have going. And then just, again, just some things that TxDOT's doing maybe to try to help safety statewide. And so I think the first thing I really wanted to talk about this morning was we're starting a new campaign. Some of y'all may have seen this, and if you do, just bear with me and y'all can watch it again. But we are starting a new campaign. It's called Drive Like a Texan. And this is something that we're going to launch in December. So this is, if you haven't seen it, it's kind of a sneak peek because this is coming up hot and heavy in December. But basically what the whole point is we want to be kind and courteous on the roads, just like we are in our everyday lives. And so we're trying to hit some people with this message going forward. And so I just want to play y'all the first video. We've got a bunch of videos already out, and a lot of them are better than this very first one. But I'm going to play this first one just so y'all can get an idea of our next campaign we're doing at TxDOT.
Can you show us one more time, please? Whoa. Feels so warm inside. Does everyone in Texas do this?
If they're a Texan, they do.
Yeah, hell yeah, I'm from Texas.
Drive like a Texan. Kind, courteous, and safe. Y'all are gonna do just fine.
So be looking for more of these videos. Like I said, we probably have, our communication division probably has 8 to 10 of these that I've seen, and they're all real short videos about bicycles and four-way stops and road rage and kind of takes on that. So program that we have coming out, just wanted to plug that this morning. So I do want to talk about safety stuff, and but really before I get into that, just to kind of let everybody know, Ports to Plains corridor. So it's a big topic around the state, especially on this side of the state. And so we have part of that through Howard County. So just want to plug kind of where we're at with Ports to Plains corridor, future I-27, okay? And so we've been working around the truck relief route around the town of Big Spring for quite some time. So this part that's highlighted in red, this was actually completed about 9 to 10 years ago. We completed the southern half of the relief route of US 87. And then about 3-ish years ago, we completed the northern half. So that completed the complete truck relief route around the city of Big Spring, which now makes pretty much all of Howard County 4-lane divided on US 87. The only thing that's not is this little 2.5 mile section down here by Forsan. That's the only part of this area that's not currently 4-lane divided highway. And so I get quite a few questions. So can't y'all just change the signs and make it interstate? Well, it's not quite that easy. And really, one of the biggest challenges that we have here is that on an interstate, you have to be control access. So you can't have driveways coming on and off your main lanes. And we don't have that here. So essentially, in order to make this even an interstate along all the other requirements, essentially have to have frontage roads. And so that's going to take a whole lot more, building a whole lot more roads and buying a whole lot more right of way, and so, which is a whole lot more money. But that's where we are. This little section I got highlighted in purple, this little circle I got down here, that's a 4-lane undivided section, and we do have a project coming up for it, and I'll just plug this one project that we are going to come back here in a couple of years and widen that road out to make it a 4-lane divided. So we have the funding for it. It's a $22 million job to finish that 2.5 mile stretch there to make it 4-lane divided throughout Howard County, US 87. One thing we are doing a little bit different here is that we are realizing that the interstate's coming. So if you ever drive that, once we get it built, we're going to build the frontage roads, and then we're going to leave a huge space in the middle, in the median in between the roads, where we can come back and build the main lanes at some point in the future whenever the funding does come available for the interstate. So we are going to be ready for the interstate on this section, but we still have to get to that point. All right, do want to look at a few safety stats just for the county that we're in. And I don't show 2024 because we're not through with it yet. So I'm just comparing 22 to 23 numbers, and this is for the entire Abilene district. And so you can see this left column of fatalities. That's just kind of what I'll focus on here. I've got Howard County highlighted, and just because that's where we're at. But you see total in the Abilene district in 22, we had 59 fatalities. 23, we dropped 2, we had 57 fatalities. Okay, this is for our entire district. If you go back to 21, we had 77 fatalities. So in our district, we've dropped 20 fatalities in the last 2 years. So we're still trending downward as a whole. But notice Howard County, and this is the things that alarm me as in my position, is that Howard County went from 6 in 22 to 11 fatalities in 23. So almost doubled, which is a pretty alarming stat when you look at that. But not just fatalities, serious injuries went up too, almost double, from 19 to 37. So we still have some things we need to improve on here. So let's break that out just so in our emphasis area is kind of what caused the crash. And this is just specifically numbers for Howard County. And we still see behavioral issues. And I think we see that all the time. I think we all know that. Everybody knows that in the room. But unrestrained occupant and fatalities, we went from 2 in 22 to 4 in 23, so we doubled. That's essentially 4 fatalities out of the 11 that there was in the county were not wearing a seatbelt, which is over 33%. That's, I'd say that's really high, but that's probably about on par with the rest of what I've looked at in the rest of our district. DUI related, 3 fatalities both years, DUI related. Single vehicle run off the road, that far top right column. We went up 1, but still 4 of the fatalities in 23 were single vehicle run off the road. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We'll hit intersection related. We saw a little bit of increase in our intersection related fatalities here in Howard County, so you see that being an issue. But speed is one of the biggest ones. Bottom left table, we had 6 speed related fatalities in Howard County in 2023. And then also our truck fatalities, our commercial motor vehicle fatalities. You can see that jumped up. We had 6 of those related fatalities in 23. So just to kind of give you an idea of what's causing some of these incidents, and really this is where I want to go with the rest of this presentation, some things we're doing, at least from TxDOT, and then some things where we try to partner with other folks to try to help in a few of these. So I want to particularly focus on that single vehicle run off the road and intersections, talk about speed a little bit too. So what are we doing from TxDOT to help run off the road incidents? And that's what, first thing I'm going to talk about upgrade striping. And y'all probably know this. Some of this stuff y'all probably heard. But if you hadn't, our standard for years and years and years at TxDOT was use 4-inch wide striping. And now our standard is to use 6-inch wide striping. So you may see it, y'all may see it when you're driving. It's kind of, you can tell it if they're side by side and you're used to looking at it all the time, but if you're driving 75, it's kind of hard to tell whether it's 6-inch or 4-inch, but we are using that wider stripe, again, trying to keep people within the lane, so to speak. Another thing, curves is another big emphasis area for us right now, really trying to address curves, fix the super elevation on the curves, sign them better. Putting out a lot of these flashing LED chevrons. I hope y'all have seen some of those as you advance through the curve. It kind of flashes as you go through there. Good technology there. Skid is another one I think is important that we really look at from a statewide level, is the skid of our roadways. And so we specifically look at wet weather related accidents when people may run off the road. We identify that and we try to address those areas. We also have a machine that goes through and actually measures the value of a skid on the roadway. And so we have all that data and we try to address that. Skid's not real cheap to fix though. I mean, a lot of times that requires us to resurface the road, which is, that requires quite a bit of money if we do that. If we have a big enough issue, there's some other things we can do temporarily. We can texture the pavement or something along that line. So if anybody's ever from around this particular area, and we had some skid issues on I-20 from really Big Spring east to about the Mitchell County line. And so we went in and textured that pavement. And so if you drove that area over the last few years, you probably wish you had some earplugs because it was very loud. I would say that's one of my chief complaints is because I had a lot of people calling upset about that. But the reason was because we were having wet weather related incidents we were trying to prevent. And then we got projects planned, and now that's actually, that whole section has new hot mix surface on it. It just takes a little bit to get that planned and funded. But skid is something we look at. Clear zone's another one. If somebody does run off the road, we want to make sure they don't hit anything. We want to make sure they got a good distance. And so I think right now we're trying to really get rid of dumpsters and things along that line in our right of way. And so a few people get a little bit upset with us on things along that line, but we work on it. Y'all have all seen rumble strips, that audible warning to keep folks from running off the road. We've got those. I'm going to show you a map of that here in a minute. Of course, narrow roads, run off the roads. If we try to widen the roads and give them more room, the more room to correct, hopefully they'll be able to correct and stay on the road instead of running off of it. So we're trying to widen as many roads as we can, but again, that costs a lot of money to widen roadways. And I'll show you a map of the Abilene district on that here in a minute as well. And then speed's another one, and I heard we were talking about speed a minute ago and how people don't like to change speed, but I think it's important, something that we got to look at speed limits more. So here's a map this is the Abilene district map that shows our rumble strips. So this is all of our roads in our district, and of course we're in Howard County, the bottom left county here on the map. But I think what I want to highlight is almost all of our roads have rumble strips, and that's our goal. And so we're almost there in the Abilene district. And I think most districts are. But I will note that, just for y'all's information, a couple different types of rumble strips, and y'all have seen them, y'all just may not realize it, but the stuff in the blue on this map is what we call profile rumble strips. So that means that it's got a little blob of stripe on top of the stripe that's on the ground. So when essentially it's built up. The rumble's built up. So when you run your tire over it, that's what makes the sound. The roads in the red are milled in rumble strips. So those are actually milled into the pavement. And they're not raised above the pavement, they're milled into the pavement. The reason the difference is that we mill them in if we have the pavement structure. In other words, we have enough surface where we can mill that in. That's what we'll do. If you don't have that enough pavement structure and you just have a thin surface, if you mill into it, you mill into your base material, and that's not good. So we put in what we call profile. The one problem with the profile is that we do live in West Texas and we don't get a lot of winter weather, but it still does snow here some, and we still get some winter, and we still do service roads and we plow roads and we work on roads. But if we have a rumble strip that's raised a little bit and we run a snow plow over it, what do you think happens to it? It gets knocked off. And so it's a big maintenance nightmare to keep those maintained. But it's something that we're still continuing to work on, and we try to keep up. This is just a narrow road map. We'll just, again, Abilene District, where narrow roads. Again, I'll focus on Howard County, the bottom left of the map. The roads in red are less than 24 foot wide. And so our goal is we try to get everything at least wider than 24 foot. A couple things I'll note on this map. It's funny because you see I-20 all in red, and you think I-20 is bigger than 24 foot. Well, what's not is the frontage roads. Frontage roads on I-20 are pretty narrow, but that's not typically where we have a lot of our fatalities. Is not on I-20 frontage roads. It's on some of our farm to market roads. But I'll just kind of, we've got projects planned, and they're in the little blue circles or whatever you want to call that coming up. But I will just focus on Howard County. Very few roads compared to the rest of my district in Howard County that isn't what we would consider to be a narrow road. And this is ability, again, just because we're able to leverage some of what we get as energy sector funding. And so that's specific to energy sector, which we put a lot into Howard County. So we've been able to get some of these FM roads widened out. Speed is another one I do just want to hit on. Here's the speed limits on all of our roads, and this is a real high-level overview. But I think you'll probably get the trend of what is typically the case in a lot of the state, is that the purple color are major roads, 75 miles an hour. And then most every other road on that map is an FM road, and you'll see it that light blue. Well, if you follow it up to the legend up there, the light blue 70. And we see that quite a bit. Major roads 75, and then some of our FMs, a lot of our FMs are at 70. Should they be? That's what we're checking into. So we're making a better effort on doing actual speed zone studies to see if the road actually warrants that speed limit. But of course, whatever we set the speed at, that's just one part of the equation, right? That doesn't mean that's what people are going to drive. And especially on some of these low volume FM roads, nobody's out there to enforce it, so a lot of times they drive whatever they want to anyways. But all right, so I do want to talk about intersections quickly before I run out of time. A few things we're doing: putting up more safety lighting in intersections, flashing beacon signals, definitely doing some more signs. We're making an emphasis now to really do a lot more mowing to kind of get more sight distance around intersections too, and of course turn lanes. And just to close out, I do want to talk a little bit about education. and some things we're doing. I know a lot of y'all in the room partner with us with this, but education, I think, is going to be a key step. We talk about the 3 E's, engineering, education, enforcement, but education, I think, is going to be a key because so many of these are drove by driver behavior, and we just got to try to change that mindset however we can of some of these drivers. So some things TxDOT is doing, of course, doing the education part, and I know our traffic safety specialist and everybody, I do too. We like to go out to schools, get to give presentations, go out to as many events as we can. We also use signs, and y'all have seen our DMS signs with messages all the time. We take our trailer signs around, trailer message boards, and put those up too. One thing, and I don't know how many of y'all have seen these, but these drunk driving signs that we have a policy now where families can request to put up a drunk driving sign if they have a family member that was killed due to drunk driving. I have a lot of comments on these signs. I think these signs really make a difference because people actually get to put a name to somebody that was killed right there at that section of road. A lot of times I go give a speech or something when we unveil these signs, and I did one about 3 weeks ago on I-20 around the little city of Baird, and it was a 18-year-old little girl driving. I say little girl, but 18 seems little to me, but an 18-year-old girl that was driving, so drunk driver was going the wrong way on I-20 and had a head-on with her and killed this young lady. And I mean, those are the things that we're trying to prevent with this. And I mean, those things are some of the hardest speeches I have to give in my career, is when you're sitting there with mom and dad and 6 siblings and trying to talk about drunk driving. And so it's a message that we've got to get out. But then we have some other programs. Just to close, every presentation I give, and again, I'm talking to a group that already knows this, but every presentation I give, especially to any sort of cities or counties, I talk about enforcement, and because enforcement's key, and when I talk about enforcement, I'm mainly talking about what our STEP grant is. And so if you don't know about this grant, this is a grant any law enforcement agency can be a part of. It pays for the overtime of the officers to go work during certain times of the year. It could be a year-long grant, but they go work and look at specific things in order to enforce some more safety habits. And so again, this is a grant that any law enforcement agency can be a part of, and it essentially pays for your officers overtime to participate. So if y'all need, anybody wants any more information about this, y'all can get with me or get with Chad, I think somewhere in the back of the room from Odessa Group, but he'll be glad to talk to you about this. But I think this is going to be a key of continuing to improve our safety, is we got to get some of that enforcement out there. So with that, I'll leave it. Thank you all very much for your attention, and thanks for having me.